I'll go ahead and call the Nottingham Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 to order. Before we begin, I'll have everyone go around the room and introduce ourselves, beginning on my right.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Skip Severance.
Chris Evans.
John Moran.
Teresa Bascom.
Edward Veal.
Drew Stevens.
Doug Cummings.
Blair Haney, SRPC.
And Mr. Davies will be participating tonight as an alternate, but will not be voting as we have a full board present tonight. We have a number of items on the agenda tonight, but before we get into any public hearings, we had had a few items out to town council for correspondence that we received back between the last two meetings. So I think a motion to enter non-public to review correspondence from town council would be appropriate.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So a second by Mrs. Bascom, a second by Mr. Stevens to enter into non-public, which is RSA 91A3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries 7-0. All right, we're going to step out, instead of having everybody else leave and turning off the camera, we'll step out to the land use office, and then we'll come back, so sit tight. Hold on, is that in here? Or do you have it separate?
You want to take my seat? Yeah. But there's a camera on TV and turn it back on. If I can turn it back on. You can dance if you entertain for the people watching.
I'm gonna move all these signs around.
You're being watched.
Name tags.
You're being watched.
They have to have a non-public, because they're gonna leave a opinion. And this is your case for whatever reason. You sit me just like I was. This guy. Yeah. Why are you revising the plan? That was one of his comments. Why are you revising the plan? Now, I just got back from a really nice vacation up north, and I'm thinking, are you shitting me? Weren't you sitting 5 feet away from me last week, a month ago? Was he not, well, they didn't like it. I understood why they didn't like it, but, had a difference of opinion. I thought we didn't need to. They said, no, now we're gonna, and then he said, well, we're gonna get a legal opinion. Well, that was if I was gonna push it. Maybe they're gonna get a legal opinion and say, Pete, you were right. You didn't have to change it. Well, yeah, then we'll go back to, I had no plans drawn anyway. We'll go back, we'll go back to the 2 acres. Right. Oh, I get it. How you doing? You made it here, live and in color. I looked at the plan.
What, are they late?
Nah, I cut a fart here. Now, they're having a non-public, I guess, about our project or your project or somebody's project. I'm not sure whose. Hopefully it's yours and not mine. If you weren't here, I had to think of me. But now that you're here, I'm like, well, maybe they're out talking about your dilemma.
Maybe.
Maybe. Have you been to conceptuals with your idea, right, to this board? I almost think I saw you a year ago.
I went with a conceptual recently to the planning board.
Well, that's what we have.
For the subdivision. Well, I thought this was the boss.
No, this is the planning board.
This is planning board.
Okay. So I thought you'd already talked to them, so maybe did they slip? I don't really care. Whatever it is, who cares? I figured they're probably talking about your situation with the roads. But,
Well, I mean, I don't mind telling you, where we left it last time is that, I got this, 50 acres.
yeah,
I want to divide it into,
family lots.
3 12s. But now with the roads divide,
They constitute
a
a
circle
subdivision.
of 4 acres, another circle of 3, another circle of 7 or 8 or 9, and you know, on his own, he says, does that make them already a lot?
Right.
Or does the planning board have to approve them as lots?
That's a great question.
And so he was going back to his,
Maybe that's what the
to
lawyer.
the town lawyer
Okay.
was going to
That's
answer.
good news.
What's that?
I said, that's good news. They're talking about you right now.
Well, hopefully, but.
Hopefully, at least you get an answer.
But I'd like to get an answer.
Right, no, you need one. I know
Because
exactly,
that's
I know
what
what you're
drives
talking about.
Land, that's what drives
Franklin,
Franklin.
I understand. That was
But
been
he needs
my,
to know that in order to do a subdivision plan.
you can always ask your own lawyer, even though their lawyer may disagree, but it's a law, it's a legal thing. No, the whole reason
I'm trying to understand.
No, I understand everything about your situation. When the town passed all those roads into town roads, I said, wow, there's a lot of frontage that just got created.
Yeah.
And then I got thinking, oh, wait a minute, like, I thought of you immediately, and I go, huh. Now, if title goes to the center of the road, which right now, right before the subdivision, before they made that strip of town road, it was all one big piece. Now, and it still is. Now all they've done is take like a duct tape, they've laid like a strip down, and that's the town right of way. The ownership is still on both sides and all around, but does that constitute a division? And that's a good question if I had to ask, because at first I thought immediately, yes, it does. Then I looked into it a little, and I said, I'm not so sure it does. I think it just might be, you own all this land with an easement through it. But does the easement create title lines? I don't know, there's easement lines, they're not title lines. So that's that's why I've been hesitant, but I'm so glad that somebody's, not my client, is going through this. Now, I know you wanted to hire me for it, but I really would felt that I needed to know this answer that you're looking for right now before I did anything. That's just the difference of opinion on how you do things, and I know
Now,
Shannon already got out and done
There
it.
is a section of the road that I did hire a lawyer for.
Yeah.
And it's down on the lots that are on the lake. And the road, their previous deed comes up to the edge of the road.
Where they intended it to be.
Not the center.
Not where it's built,
So-
to the edge.
That's right. So on that little piece, I have an opinion that says that I own the whole road, not to the center. It's only that little piece.
Maybe,
Big deal.
right, no, I understand.
But Jim needed that
Right.
to do the road survey, which I paid for. Thank you very much. You know, I hope I get a thank you on that. And it helps with the subdivision.
How wide is it?
But the road,
Did you come up with any way
it
of
was,
determining?
no, that was a 66, 64, 30-foot wide down there. In that just little section, in that old plan.
33, yeah, right there,
down.
down the land rate survey.
Right.
33, actually,
So
it was 33 feet.
okay, well, you know,
Well, you're right, but it was
you
platted.
have the facts.
It was platted, yes, yes. I was wondering.
So the opinion was, the original owner
Yeah, Howard Lambright.
intended that those lots were on that side of the road, and the entire 50 acres, whatever, is on.
And
It
they-
included the road and was back here.
And they had an easement through,
And then
the way they worded that easement, it says, they don't even tell you where it is, they just say wherever it is.
Wherever it gets built.
Right.
Because it was gonna get built by the
It
people who were gonna do
didn't, it
it.
didn't get built according to the plan, because the plan you had the lake, then you had the lot, then you had the road. Well, now you've got all these spider webs coming down into that area, as you know. But that doesn't, there's even more to that story. That plan was approved by the town. Therefore, at that particular point in time, and I'm surprised you haven't got to this yet, maybe you have, between acceptance and dedication. That's a verb now. So what you've got here is a dedication back when Howard Lamprey got this signed off.
Mhm.
What you didn't get, in my opinion, in the 20 years fell off, or there's a time frame. Actually, you fell in an area where the 20 years wasn't relevant. That was like after 84. So what happened was, they passed a different law in 84 that said if you dedicated a road to the town and the town didn't accept it as a town road within 20 years, you get started over, get a new dedication. Your road goes back, predates where the dedication occurred, because it's all over the plan, but the acceptance at town meeting never happened. And it never happened. Except the argument would be when they voted in a couple of years ago, all the list of roads, and Lamprey was on it, you could, your lawyer's gonna wanna argue that was the acceptance. That was the acceptance that closed the deal and made it illegal town road. Some of these other roads around town, they were dedicated after that date and the 20-year period fell off. But nobody's gonna say anything because the intent, I think you could argue, is the townspeople said, enough is enough. All of those private roads up around the lake and a few other lakes around going to be town roads. All the ones that were under that, most of the ones that were under that emergency lane. Now, I don't know if they covered all of the roads down in your way. Maybe they did, but you've got Lamprey, and then you've got some other neighborhoods. You have an Indian Run or
Only
something.
a little spurs.
Now, if that theory is correct with the roads, and they create a natural subdivision, an overnight subdivision, what about the non-conforming lots? Are they lots of record? The ones that are under 2 acres.
They're all over.
So the roads, as they all divvied everything
There's a
out.
4, there's a 3.5, and there's a 7.
I saw what you drew the lots in, right? But now in some of those lots, you do have the roads running through.
But
What did you do with the
None
bits
of
and
them.
pieces?
none of them are less than 2 acres.
Oh, okay. So did you end
I got
up
pictures
with,
here.
did you end up with more than the 4 lots or whatever you were? You must end up with more lots.
Well, yeah, the 3.
Because of all of the.
3, 4, 5, the 4, the 3, and the 9, which is behind the dam, you know?
Okay.
So actually, I have 6.
That's one on the other side of the dam, on the other side of the whole dam.
Correct.
Is there buildable in there?
Right, I did a little plan,
Yeah.
very questionable.
Yeah, because you got the Pawtucket River.
There's a road, there's a little wet spot, you know, it would have to be worked
It's
to
tough.
get a little, but there's plenty of acreage, 2 acres.
Yeah, you know, all kinds of frontage.
But then you got, you know, the borders and the offsets and the roads and.
So was
But I'm
the,
not considering that, you know,
was the opinion of your lawyer that because they showed 33 foot or 30 foot, whatever width on the lamprey, and that lamprey granted easements or for all the people on there, that the 33 was the width all the way through to Dolph Dam Road? Did that come up?
well, no.
So what are the widths of the right of way?
Plan.
What are the, what
Because there
are
is no plan from there to the tower
the,
road.
right, so what's the width of the lamprey from the subdivision to Dolph Dam Road? Are they gonna want 50?
John Moore, when he was covering for Ed, gave me a verbal of what the lawyer told me, and I was asking for 25, which is basically what's there, and that's
That's a good argument.
And he said that the lawyer agreed to 25. That was a town number? Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
fine.
that's all the way up from the town road, you know, where I start, excuse me.
It's
Up
gonna be a
where-
little bit.
Up where Dolph and all that stuff.
That's questionable, because, you know, for it to be a town road, you know, they're gonna probably want you to give up, they're gonna probably want you to make that a 50-foot right of way. You might wanna do that at least on paper, because, I know you're still gonna own all the land, but that way you have a legal 50-foot wide right of way, which, and again, if it's 25 and they still classify it the same, then no problem. But I can hear this board and say, well, you don't have a 50-foot right of way, therefore you don't have frontage. It's supposed to be on a 50-foot right of way on these town roads. And they created this problem, not this board, the town created this problem, and they accepted roads with no widths. That's why I voted against all of that. I go, this is a huge problem for guys like you, Cahill, all the people who own all that land and stuff. It may look like it's a godsend that you're getting all this, but it may also be a huge problem. And somebody has to be first.
Specific people.
Somebody has to be first. And luckily, because I got another one, who's the other guy up by the park? Ken. he's in the same situation. Ken Sachs had Sachs Road on both sides. And, you know, what do we do? And I'm like, geez, I want to find out what Kevin does first. What Cal does with Kevin. And maybe it'll be tonight.
Maybe. Maybe.
I mean, this stuff gets so goddamn complicated now because they didn't do it well. It's hard to say if they did it right, because they did it. Now they did it, you gotta deal with it. But there's no ways. So when I got thinking, well, because my argument, because I was working on land prep for the vacant lot at the time,
Right.
that they passed all this, and I got caught in the middle. And I could easily explain the 30.
Watson law.
Yeah, I can easily explain the 33 feet, but somebody, I think it was Dirk at the time, was an engineer. He's no longer the chairman, but he was a chairman at the time a few years ago, and he said, what's the width? I said, who knows? I go, maybe as far as the snow flies when they plow, maybe it's all the scarred trees, maybe it's the edge of the gravel. Either one is just a guess, because these roads were accepted without widths, and that's a problem. In my opinion, it is. Because someday, somebody has, like a surveyor's gonna have to draw the plan and draw the sideline of the road. I didn't even see what Jim did. Did he actually define the sideline or just show the center line?
He did.
He did, he assigned the width. I haven't looked at it that close. But you said, see, now here's the thing. Did you record a plat of land, like before you drew in all the subdivision lines? Did he take it with all the roads on it and record it at the registry with a
Yeah.
statement that says,
Well,
these are the lines?
as a road survey, it's recorded, not a subdivision survey.
No, I understand, but like I just said, you may not need the subdivision plan. That plat of land may be enough if it shows the roads. That's what they're talking about. Because that was the question he had asked.
So this is what I gave them in May 22.
Yeah, he doesn't show the width. He just shows, looks like the edge of the traveled way. You can see the difference because down here, he's got the edge of it right here. And then he just showed, this is the path, this is the edge of the gravel. So he did exactly what he has to do. He doesn't know the width, you can't show what you don't know. Oh, just the town, to see if the town will vote to accept owned olive Indian liquor town roads. Exception, yeah, he took that right out of the town report, as is, as is. That plays it right out. So I see what you're doing here. You're counting some of these as just driveways. Because if Indian around, like here's a driveway,
Yeah,
then you got land on both sides of that.
that's right.
Those are 2 acre lots?
No.
I think so. Then you got partial, you got a little nest.
Those need to be right of ways to those people, because.
Are they part of the town road right now?
No.
Well, then they're just private, that's fine.
They're private little driveways, but they need to be easements off of my road,
Right.
right?
Well, they already are.
They already are, but to
But
the
they don't
nth
have
degree-
widths, huh?
But to the nth degree, shouldn't we do all of that, so that there's no more
Yes.
question,
Yes.
50 years from
You have an
now?
opportunity to. Since those are burdening your land and there's no clear location, written location and width of them, this is an opportunity to,
You're right.
Well, you just monument where the road is now. Who's gonna argue where the road is now?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna talk to
The
all the
owner,
others.
the owner where that road goes to, onto his land, won't argue. I'm not ready to argue.
Right.
Because I want a subdivision, so I'm willing to give to get.
This gets a little more complicated though, because we're talking about deeds and title. So you could draw a plan that shows all of this, but until you take the action of conveying grant to a grantee, it's just a plan recorded at the registry that some lawyer could use if he wanted to. Didn't have to. Now, if you took the following action, recorded the plan, and then took all the affected abutters who now need that easement, then you wrote him a new deed, and you recorded it, and referenced it to their existing deed, then all of that would get tied together for future generations. regulations, that's doing it right. Oh,
That's doing it right.
that's doing it right, that's putting it into the, right now, there's no guarantee you'll do all of this, and, because lawyers don't like to change descriptions. So what they'll do is right now it says with a right of way to Route 156, however it's worded. It doesn't tell you anything except you can get from A to B somehow. You're gonna take it to the nth degree and monument it with easements. That's fine and dandy, but it doesn't mean that the lawyer needs to put that into his deed. It has to be conveyed. You know, so what it would be is, the deed title might be clarification of easement location and width, and then it may
Now,
even,
is that on me?
well, it
or-
would be,
or
it'd be
the-
on both of you. I would then, before I did any conveyances, you're not asking for money, it sounds, but maybe support, is you would want to talk to all the affected abutters who might be beneficial to them to receive that, and
Yeah.
ask them first. Because sometimes they may say,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
people are funny.
Well,
They don't
well,
want to change
ignorance is
anything.
bliss.
Well, they don't, but also, it's not so much that, it's, why are you coming to my door today on a Sunday or whatever, knocking on my door, asking me all these questions about my land? Everything, why, is there a problem?
But it's
Everything's
not your
fine.
land, it's my land.
Yeah, but why are you talking about my easement? And then you'd have to explain to them, that's what starts actually, you say, well, geez, it's really not good, well, I've been living, how long this has it been like this? Right, say 50, 60 years, and who are you to come in here now? You don't have to, that's the reality, people.
But if I went halfway, and then when they sell, die, whatever.
They could use their plan,
Wouldn't, then they use the plan?
they could,
And
but will they?
Wouldn't the
But will they?
town force?
Private, not for private. Not for, you can't, town, this board has no say on what me and Dave do privately. If he wants to give me an easement to go on his land or something, or you wanna give me an easement,
I thought they have to approve all
that has
that.
nothing to do with, not an easement, not between two people.
What do you mean, they had to approve the?
They don't.
Well,
The town road is different, the town
They had
easement is
to
different.
approve the lot line adjustment,
All right.
not the, they don't have to approve easements.
A town easement, if you're dedicating a town road, which is an easement, but we're talking about private
Private to
easements.
private.
Nothing to do with this, nothing to do with, matter of fact, in most cases, I leave them off the plan. It's none of their business. I mean, unless it's an existing easement, no, sometimes a proposed easement, it's better to do it on a separate plan. Not to do with anything to do with the town, because I can hear Ed and Teresa and somebody like
Yeah.
saying, yeah, and then what are you gonna do? You've got 9 people plus whoever's in the audience against you, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know, you gotta like, we get my lawyer, okay, we'll get 10 lawyers, they'll have 10 lawyers, and 5 will say one and 5 will say another. How many
No,
times?
you don't really jump that ship, no.
Right, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I would like,
If I can do things right for once.
no, they don't. People don't want to do anything that creates change. But ideally, in a perfect world, by having all of that instrument, I call that an instrument, that plan, it's an instrument for conveyance, recorded at the registry with all of what you're talking about, with all those marked out, is a commitment to these landowners. It's for the benefit of, now I know where my right of way is, now I know how wide it is, now it's a meets and bounds. If this place gets hit by a hurricane, we'll be, it wipes the roads out, or tornado, we'll be able to relay it all back out because we have accurate information.
Yeah.
Now, that could be sitting at the registry, and when, somebody goes to sell, that, first of all, the people doing the title may never even find that plan. And if they do, they may never recognize what's on it, because they look like this, the title people are looking at your deed, and they're looking to see if there's any problems with your deed, like blemishes, liens, this, that. They don't think to take an available plan and incorporate it into a new description. They don't. They would be, the only way they would with their blinders is you have to convey the easement. And you don't even have to write a description, you just say the easement as shown on the Jim Franklin plan, recorded, blah, blah, blah. And you convey this to everybody. Now, they've got 2 different deeds. They've got the easement deed, the current one, they've got the deed that when they bought the place. That one gives them a right of way, this one gives them a clearer description of where it is. You can convey that to them without them even knowing it, I've seen it. And people have put stuff on record that if you read it, you go, it sounds like they got an agreement, but this says that when this plan's approved, the line that's running through the building, they're gonna tear down half the building. Trust me, I've got calls on that. A guy had called me, goes, hey Pete, your neighbor's moving in and said he wants to tear my garage down. I go, how long you lived here? He goes, 60 years. I go, what? How the hell does this happen? So I got into it and I go, well, there's an agreement here. Is from the neighbor. To you, telling that, with all this talk that they're gonna tear your building down. And he goes, I never even heard about it. I go, did you go to the planning board meeting when they did all this work? No. Of course you got notified, but no, this is the first I've ever heard of it. So I go, well, you probably need a survey. Maybe their survey's not right, this, that, or the other thing. Well, it was right. But, what they were trying to do, they were trying to sell the place next door, and it was an encroachment. It was because the line went through the building. So unbeknownst to the person who's affected by it, the other neighbor writes and gives the guy an easement and records the easement. And he don't even know about it. Now he gets, down and get his loan and his title to sell the house, because it clears the encroachment out. Yeah, that's it, but
That's a little slippery.
he had to go get a lawyer and all this other stuff, because he's got the new neighbor from Afghanistan or whatever, the guy had goat shit all the way up and down the fence, like goat, like hides and stunned. Oh, man. And he talked to me, I didn't know what the hell he was saying.
This was in town?
No, nothing.
Oh.
Center of the universe.
Where else?
Oh, man, they all got nasty. They got, my client, my poor guy though, he's just sitting around minding his own business one day, and next thing you know, he's got all this trouble where he's got somebody knock on his door saying, hey, did you know that? Look, I've got an agreement. He didn't even know anything about it. It was just effed up. And I'm like, how does this happen? But I'm looking, well, I guess they didn't have, my client's name was not on the easement. He had nothing to do with it. It was given to him without his knowledge. He was,
Epic Center of the Universe, didn't they come from that rotary they had for the train engine?
oh, for the railroad?
Table, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if
So
it
it
probably
could go
does.
any direction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what that.
I thought it was because there was just all that interbreeding.
Is that where that comes from?
I thought it was interbreeding, Kevin.
The only other one was in Germany, I think, at the time.
No kidding. Well, I do know exactly what you're talking about, where the drugstore is,
Yeah.
like in that area. Because I've driven down the old railroad beds before that all split off.
My grandma used to rode the railroad.
No kidding. And then, that's interesting. I bet they've got some pictures of that. Maybe it's like a turnstile or something. I can see.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's like an index table.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. I thought we were gonna get out of here early tonight, Dave. Jesus Christ, now they're out here having a powwow. I just hope they're not talking about you anyway. I mean, I've never had such a complicated, I don't know if you've seen the latest, fucking goddamn. After talking to Blair Monday, he says, well, why he didn't say anything the first time, whatever, it just makes it look worse. I had forgotten all
Worse
of it.
than this, my grandson's at the house with $150,000. Grandpa just buy it off that one. I called fucking Paul Collins and see if I could just split off. And
He wants the land.
he was arrogant, fucking quick.
He wants the land.
So, there you go. No, I just want to fuck out of this.
But this damn line here, 500 feet off of 152, 500 feet off of 156, up to Foss's old place and up to Allen, it's at the corner of Acrylis, and then down to here, 500 feet both sides of the road, is town center zone. I didn't even freaking know we had that. And
Is that?
your house is in town, that's more valuable, you could have like a commercial enterprise there someday. Drugstore maybe, right on the corner of Hall's Way and State Road. But, now this lot, of course, is in 2 zones. But they're gonna, it doesn't really change much, the size of the lots are the same, it's just a designation. You can actually do a little bit more in the town center zone than you can in a residential.
Right, California, right, fucking common.
Yeah, well, he'll try to do as much as he can, but I don't think I gave him enough frontage to do anything more than a single family.
You get 125 more than I figured.
I know they are. He's, it used to be so
So thanks for
easy.
your insight, as usual.
You know, I
So it's beneficial.
So it ended up being 2.41, I mentioned that to you, transfer, and this was 241. Now in the survey, when that happens, when I'm playing around with numbers and they equal the same, I must have made a mistake somewhere. So of course I double checked, I go, well, that must mean, that can mean something. I think that's a good sign. We'll see. They will come back, talk about catches.
2.41 acres, and another one, 2.41.
Well, yeah, I moved the lot line around to create the lot that they wanted, with their contiguous 30K, contiguous, whatever they want to freaking call it now. And then I put the lot lines around that, and it ended up 2.41, just a number. But then the remaining land that was left over out of the chunk was 2.41. I was like, split it right in half. I swear to God, I'm like, that doesn't happen. So I checked it, and it's right.
Double check.
Double, triple, now they may have a little, they can get a
Then we
little.
go for half an
it's a
hour.
Weird angle, because they like to see that 90 off the road. Oh, my, like that 90 off the road, you told me to move it.
Well, you got the other John, I'm sure it's back the other one.
Yeah, well, we may be, who knows, they may be getting a legal opinion on yours, say, yeah, that, and even though it was 10 against 1, that Landry was right.
Give me a-
Doubt that the
give
town
me a-
was gonna say that.
Give me one legitimate reason to send both of them back.
Don't really know. Well, I don't, you gotta keep it, well, you have to look at whatever, you have a purchase and sales?
Yeah.
Has he breached it in any way?
I don't know, I'm not, I don't feel fucking way, I don't.
No, I'm not either, but, you know, I'm
But how
thinking.
long we have, this is what, July? We started in January?
Wow.
We showed up.
We didn't, maybe, I thought we took a little reprieve to get started, but
Well,
I don't think I got out there till like May. 'Cause we started in January, then we took a break because you were gonna cut some wood. And then Falzone got involved, and we got real busy again. And he wanted me done, because I remember him calling me in May, and I told him, I'll be lucky to get, maybe April, I told him, I'd be lucky to get into the planning board in June, which I did get in June, but here it is July, you know, because we had July 4th, and we lost 2 weeks, because they meet every 2 weeks, but we lost 2 weeks. So, I hear him.
Yeah.
See if you can, just get it, and see what happens.
We'll see how that works. Hopefully this meeting here, some ideas are gonna be thrown out there.
Oh, they will be.
Huh?
Chris is, he's agreeing. Look at his face.
We got you all on tape here, whatever you guys did here.
Actually, turn.
We got calls. What? We got calls. Said you guys were dancing and singing and all that.
Douglas.
You guys might,
It's off.
we got to watch it. Why? Want to see what goes on. I'm gonna move on here.
But I was too lazy to get out of there.
All right, 7:34, and we are back.
Motion to close the non-public session and seal the minutes.
Second.
That's a motion by Mrs. Bascom and a second by Mr. Evans. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries. Mr. Cummings, you were an aye or a nay?
I'm an aye.
Aye. So the motion carries 7-0.
I got it.
You don't want to be at the beginning of the alphabet?
Audio visual.
So it's 7:34, and that was 7-0. All right, we'll get into our public hearings. First is case 24-008 LLA Witham, 3 Halls Way, application from Judy and David. And I know I said it was either, is it Witham or Whittam?
With them.
Witham. Requesting a lot line adjustment, property located at 3 Halls Way, Nottingham, New Hampshire, identifies tax map 43, lots 221-1 and 33. And Mr. Landry, if you want to go ahead, I know you submitted revised plans, if you want to.
I did, yeah, I'm gonna just drop you these off, they're the same exact ones you have, except they left my discussion with the planner that I had Monday.
Okay.
So, and I highlighted there, some of the important items we talked about. So, pass those around.
You?
Teresa, the broadcast is live. That's just the local monitor for us to look at.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll go over what I handed out to you, what I've added to the plan versus what you're looking at. Very little, it's just a zoning line for the most part. So, can we go ahead, Ed?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Members of the board, Peter Landry, Landry Survey for the record, representing David and Judy Whittam on his property at 3 Halls Way and a vacant adjacent lot to the west. We were here a month ago and discussed a configuration of a 2-acre lot with 200 feet of frontage, and after some discussion regarding the zoning requirement of the 30,000 square foot lot envelope, fit for building block, whatever it's called, I went back and readjusted the lot lines to include all of the big chunk of the contiguous fit for building, which, of course, if we were starting with new lots, again, this is a lot line adjustment. If we were starting with new lots, this lot would needed a 30,000 square foot minimum fit for building. So I took all of the area, took all of the wetland setbacks for buildings, brought them towards the center, so 75 foot for very poorly drained, 50 foot off of property lines, and came up with what you'll see on the latest sketch that's outlined in pink is the fit for building area, which totals 26,040 square feet. Okay, so it's a little short of the 30,000, but that's what's existing. And as I said, on the colored copies I just gave you, you'll see that clearly outlined in pink. On the larger sheets is double lines. There's so many lines now that just to sort of break it down. Now, on an ideal situation, subdivision regulations, and this is something Blair brought up, tries to avoid what you'd call an hourglass configuration or a pinch point of less than 50 feet. Blair pointed out that I should verify that width that's remaining at this pinch point, and you'll see on the colored prints that I gave you, it's highlighted in orange. It's 43 feet at its narrowest point, where the subdivision regs, if you're creating a new lot, require 50 without a waiver. Okay. So I'm explaining to you how I ended up readjusting the lot lines based entirely on the fit for building area, which is under 30,000. Then I was able to draw straight lines and back it off 50 feet, whatever, to create a line that would not affect the total existing overall fit for building area. And when I did that, it ended up with a lot of 2.41 acres. So I had a 2-acre lot last time I was here, and now it's a 2.41 acre lot, and we had 200 feet of frontage, and I've increased it to 359 to encompass the area fit for building that I'm mentioning. Now, from the minutes and my notes from a month ago, there were a few board members who had brought up some clarifications that needed to be addressed on the original plan that I gave you, and were addressed and are corrected or revised and are on the plans that you're looking at now. Mr. Stevens brought up some clarifications of some of the abutter names. Joy, I had Roy, so that's been corrected. Green, Roth, they may have been reversed. Green, Roth, and then I think the other one was Gardner and Okolovicki's or something like that. I had the names, so they were mixed up. So those are all clarified now. I talked about how the board was concerned about not having or represented clearly enough for the board to agree or to make a decision whether the 30,000 area on the vacant lot was being decreased. And at the time, a month ago, it was being decreased. That was determined to go against zoning, so it's now unaltered. But again, it's not 30,000. Let's see, another thing that came up, and I had the certified wetland scientist help me out with this, was to determine the stream. There's a little brook that runs through this lot. I believe Ed might have wanted me to address whether it fell under the town's new stream protection overlay district. So looking into the zoning and the regulations, how to determine that, it says, and I had said when I left a month ago, I'd look at the USGS map, because that's a common way to determine whether it's perennial or intermittent. I looked at the USGS maps, and it's not even on the maps. So I took another stab at trying, because of course our regulations got a catch for that. It says and or other. So it says look at the USGS maps or other. So I went to an or other. And what I looked at was, and I wouldn't even begin to tell you what any of this means. I worked with a certified wetland scientist, but it's a USGS report or a website. It's called Stream Stats Report. You can go to that. That shows all the streams with the watersheds. What it told us, or what it determined, and I can give you a copy of it for your record, is that the brook that we're talking about has no feeders coming in. It's a strip, probably comes from up the hill towards the square, maybe that swamp up there behind the church, maybe a spring, but it flows down, straight brook, maybe past Teresa's house and right into the North River. There were no feeder brooks coming into it, so it's classified under that theory as a first order, okay, because of that. If it had others coming in, it could be a second or third or fourth. So it was determined to be a first order. The regulations, your zoning regulations, require a 50-foot buffer. It's not clear whether that's the total or each side. So it's 100. So of course I thought maybe you meant 50 from each side, but again, not crystal clear. If it, on the plan, you'll see I've got it first order, Centerline Brook, 50-foot stream protection overlay. Now, the plan's getting a lot, really cluttered with lines. And when I laid the 50-foot from each side, I'm still within, basically in the wetland. So I didn't, at this point, feel much of a need to add another line that's doesn't even come out of the very poorly drained. And it is noted on here, and if it's 50 feet, 25 each side, it's there. If it's 100 foot, 50 from the center, it's also there. But that's where we're at on answering that for Ed. The curb cut. I thought what I had done, we talked about that. Mr. Evans brought up what a barway was, and I explained that that was an existing break in the wall. In this particular case, usually breaks in the wall are for access, and that's why I referred to it as a barway. This barway I did not have on the last plan existing access, but I added existing access. Now, Ed was looking for proposed curb cut. So now that may mean one of two things. That may mean, because I didn't have it clearly shown as existing access, what I'd like to do is keep it right where it is. Now I understand it's less than 20 feet. And if that's what we're talking about, having a driveway be 20 feet from a lot line because it's a structure of sorts, then we wouldn't, and we're not able to use the existing driveway, then I would have to surely propose driveway. But I thought we talked about that. I know we talked about it. And what the intention is, if it's acceptable with the board, is to leave the existing opening right there and work with it, and not create any more openings and not move the opening. But, so, to address where the driveway's gonna come in, I've labeled barway / existing access. If that's acceptable to the board, we'll get past that. On the final plans, as per Mr. Moran's comment, was we gotta have a certified wetland scientist stamp, and you'll see in the lower left-hand corner of the clean plat, what's that?
I said that? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't here last meeting,
Right at the end.
Oh, okay.
And nobody disagreed. So, I'm just showing that, I don't have the stamp on here now because I knew this wasn't gonna be the final plan. on the final plan, I have reserved an area for the local certified wetland scientist, so I am addressing that. Let's see. I think I've covered everything. If I missed something, just remind, I don't know if you'd like Blair to speak on his concerns, or maybe I could just cover them real quickly, because I did speak to Blair, and then if I misspeak or say something and you want additional, Blair can certainly chime in. So again, I spoke to Blair Monday. He had brought up a couple of, and you're probably in receipt of his email dated July 8th. Hi, planning board members, and he talks about the 30K, the lot envelope, which we've talked about. He makes a point of mentioning which line, and I've colored it for you in the pit, which line is the lot envelope line. Then he talks about the septic system setback, which is, a little bit more than what the state requires, but the 75-foot setback, he makes a note, and I agree with him, that it's not allowed to be counted towards the lot envelope. I think we've been through that on other projects, and we can get into more detail if we have to. The next one talks about, as I mentioned, the hourglass, that narrow point show the minimum width, should show the minimum width. Well, we don't have 50, so I showed the width of 43. And then another good pickup, and I gotta be honest with you, I think it's the first time I've ever even realized that we have a town center district around Lyres. And it gets missed by it now, from a lot size, frontage standpoint, it's the same as residential agricultural. There's obviously, because it's a different zone, there are different uses. That's pretty much primarily the only difference. It was brought up, I've added it to the zoning summary, so we were in two zones, residential and town center, and that's on the marked up ones. That's gonna be on the final plans. And then I also, and you'll see in yellow, is I've added the actual zoning lines. They're 500 feet from the sideline of 152 and 156, not the center line, the sideline is what it says. And then you bring it in 500 feet. And as you can see, it creates the lot, the lot we're dealing with ends up becoming a split zoned lot, primarily residential agricultural, with bits and pieces of it in the town center zone. So, another point I believe Ed brought up, and it's clearer now, and I've added it on here, is there is additional wetland restrictions now on the books in the form of a 25-foot vegetative buffer. And so we have buffers and setbacks now from wetlands. The 25-foot buffer, again, they want that to be natural buffer. It's marked on the plans. It's zoning, like zoning, whether it's on a plan or not, it's zoning, and it's throughout the whole town. So, but now, because we're dealing with this lot line adjustment in this specific area, I've added all the 25-foot buffers where they're shown. Some of these other areas, as we talked about, I don't believe we got to it yet, is a waiver form for the remaining land, and parts of parcel A, the waiver form was put in, I don't think we acted on it, but that was to waive complete topography and wetlands for those lots. And since Dave's lot number 3, his house lot is getting larger and getting an additional 2.41, I understood that that seemed like a reasonable request for a waiver, and we have to act on that. Now, so we'll go over any questions. I believe I've addressed everything that we talked about. My list of outstanding items are that I still need a subdivision approval, even though it's a lot line adjustment. We've changed the size, we've made it small. The state requires subdivision approval to prove that it's still a state buildable lot. Number 2, I still have to set final monuments, the new monuments, which may be a bound or a drill hole with a cap in the front, and then pins around the back, and then we're gonna utilize an existing drill hole. And like I had just mentioned, there was a waiver put in during the application, which we haven't acted on, and that was for the topo and wetlands for the remaining land and portions of parcel A. So that should do it.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board. So we have the new plans on this. We did have some council input that we saw, depending on which way the plan was going to go, to make sure we didn't delay it any further regarding the lot line adjustment and conforming, non-conforming, and everything else. So does anybody have anything they want to go over before I kind of jump into some of that? So we're in a bit of a quandary because of the way our zoning ordinance is written. We kind of have what I'm going to call a savings clause for pre-existing non-conforming lots of record that prior to a certain date. The issue potentially comes up that as soon as you make a lot line adjustment and change the lot, it changes the lot of record date to whatever that approval date was or whenever that deed passes, which then takes away any savings clause for that pre-existing non-conforming lot. All that, anything that's protected in zoning is gone. So-
Let me add,
Yep.
the lot envelope is not required of a pre-existing lot on a non-conforming, of a lot of record.
Get back to the zoning. Sorry, get back into the
I would
zoning.
agree with that, if that's, you know, need a response. That's one of the items, that's a specific item we're dealing with here. This existing lot
So
does not have a 30,000, right?
Right.
That's a fact.
And so, we as a board cannot approve a non-conforming lot if that does not conform, and that would,
I'm getting there. I'm trying to find the exact spot. So I can reference it.
But that's what isn't that what that statement is trying to say? Look at that, I'll bring it out. Zoning 2C, 2E. I mean, so you're saying what action makes this? It's already, today, would the board agree it's a non-conforming lot?
Correct. It's from what you've displayed, because I'm assuming that the area that's not been surveyed, that is in the transfer area, which would be to the
Yes.
east of the stream, that doesn't look like that could be any way a larger contiguous area than what's being shown here, so.
Yeah, right, so just where it says lot line to be abandoned, of course, that's where the existing lot line goes, so that whole existing lot's been around probably before zoning, this whole lot. So, yeah, no matter whether if we didn't do any lot line adjustment, we'd get a building permit and be able to build on this lot, nothing would come out. So we've come here with, again, say this all the time, every lot line adjustment I've done for decades. We're starting with 2 lots of record and we're ending with 2 lots. Now, here's where the rub gets in, here's where the planning board gets involved. When you start moving lot lines around, we're not creating a non-conforming lot. We're not, it exists, pre-exists, like the zoning here says. It's pre-existing non-conforming part of the lot. The lot itself meets the 200 feet and the 2 acres, meets it. There are other elements that are part of a lot in this town, and that being, or at least on a conventional lot, not a cluster that doesn't even require this buildable area. But on conventional lots, you have to have, if you're creating them, a 30,000. This one, what we're doing is we're not affecting any of the buildable area or the lot envelope or any of that by reducing these lot size. We're just reducing the area and the frontage. But we're leaving conforming area and conforming frontage. Everything else is untouched. That's the pre-existing part of this lot. Just the zone.
Once you record a new lot, it's not pre-existing anymore, because it doesn't pre-exist zoning. That lot
But
has
before,
to be.
but before you approve it, it's pre-existing. So I think what you're trying to say, I don't know, never heard of such a thing, is
The lot of record date has changed. That's the issue here. The board cannot approve this according to what the feedback, the feedback to the, from the town council is that the board cannot approve.
Oh, you had, this was, okay, I didn't realize you were getting legal representation on their opinion, so that's.
I said last time at the last
I didn't
meeting that we
realize, but I
would,
thought that was, okay, you
because
did say that.
we didn't want to have it
I
get
thought you
delayed
were
any
discussing
further.
My interpretation of 2C, 2E, and we got past that, but okay.
So 2C, 2E is there, but then also under number 3, setbacks, you have the applicable only to pre-existing non-conforming lots of less than 2 acres as of the date of passage. So that doesn't apply, but there's, let me just go back. We have in our zoning, in our subdivision regs, a date specific to the lot of record dates.
I mean,
Basically, by recording a new, yeah, go ahead.
Section U, number 2, under non-conforming, says a non-conforming lot of record, which does not meet the requirements for area or town requirements established by this ordinance, may be used for purposes provided in the zoning district in which the property is located, established by this ordinance.
Where are you reading that? On which,
Page 39,
of zoning?
zoning, yep. It's the non-conformance section.
It's the non-conformance section.
Okay. I just want to know where you're at, so.
So, the lot of record has changed. Once you record this, the lot of record date changes. So,
I've never heard of such a thing. How have we done all these other lot line adjustments?
because when the board is approving it, the lot line adjustment doesn't have, you're not recording a lot that's not conforming.
So what are you saying is changing here besides the lot lines?
We're not, we're saying the lot of record date is what's changing.
It's the date.
It's the date.
Date?
Yes, the lot of record. It's no longer a lot of record that predates zoning. That's what gives you the nonconformance, is that this lot existed before the zoning made it nonconforming. Once you record this lot line adjustment, you've changed the lot of record date. This board cannot approve that.
I guess we're gonna have to get our own opinion. I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, you know what a lot of record date is, and the lot of record date would change, correct?
So what's the problem with making that, you're saying that you can't approve a lot of record?
You can't approve this as a building lot,
You can't.
because the fact that, well, first, you're still not coming with us into 30,000 square feet. You're coming with us under the 50 feet for 2 right there. That's when I thought you were coming back to us with a 30,000 foot envelope, and you were just gonna redesign it, but now you're still under. You're still under the 50, still there. You're making, if you would go on any other part of the town and say, hey, I'm cutting off 3 lots, but neither of these 3 lots that I'm cutting off, this bigger parcel, or 2 lots or 1 lot, neither have a building envelope, they would not be.
No, I understand, but that's not what we're doing here.
What, then what?
What am I missing? Because
Well, no one's saying you don't have, please correct me if I'm wrong here, speaking for the board, that you don't have 2 buildable lots. I mean, one is already built on, but one is, I think the board is acknowledging that there is a vacant lot that is non-conforming, that meets the non-conformance definition in the zoning ordinance right now. It's this lot line adjustments that's creating the problem for you.
I don't see how it's making any more non-conforming.
That's not the issue. That's not the
That's
issue.
not the issue.
It's not the issue. The issue is it applies only to lots of record that predate zoning. You are changing the lot of record date by recording the lot line adjustment.
Peter, the lot that you're taking from, I'm sorry, but there's so much on here and it's so little, my eyes can't find it. This parcel A, how many acres is parcel A currently?
5.
Well, parcel A is part of the whole entire lot 33 currently. Currently, that lot is 4.82 acres. Currently.
So the lot that you want to take from is for,
So what I wanted, yeah, so the lot I'm starting with is 4.82 acres. Existing tax map 43, lot 33. What I'd like to do is reduce the lot size to a conforming lot size and a conforming frontage, which we have, and encompass all of the fit for building area that we can. We don't have 30, so we can't make it 30. And that's why I can't quite understand why we still can't reduce the lot lines, the same thing, but, and we're gonna then take parcel A, which we've taken, the remainder of lot 33 is parcel A, and that's going to be added to lot 21-1, which also happens to be 2.41 acres. So,
21.1 is 3.7 acres, 0.7
no, I'm
acres.
talking about parcel A. It's 2.41, we're gonna add it to,
So you're gonna add that to
we're gonna add
the
it to
21.
21.1, which is add it to 3.07, and have a new revised total of 5.47.
5.47. All right, so you're taking a lot that's 4.23 and reducing it to 2 and change. But what is, just for my own answer here, the gold line, what does that represent?
Oh, that's a zoning line between the town center and residential agricultural.
Okay,
So that's not a lot line, that's a zoning line.
okay, because I was thinking your buildable envelope doesn't fit within that, it goes beyond it.
Yeah, that's a zoning line.
But you still have an hourglass shape, so you don't have a true
It's
buildable
existing.
envelope.
Well, that's kind of why I had the lot line and going through that before. So again, the question is, I mean, just because it's narrower than 50 doesn't mean it's not usable. If you look at one of the plans I gave you, the topo one, you'll see that the well has been pushed over to that area. And there's 43 feet's plenty of room to run a water line through. So, but again, I recognize that there's certain elements of this pre-existing lot, being the fit for building and the narrowness, that do not meet your current zoning. I realize that. They're
The
existing.
board agrees. If you went in for a building permit today, we don't see a reason why the building inspector would deny you. It would be a pre-existing, non-conforming lot. The word
Yes.
pre-existing is the key piece. It predates, it pre-exists zoning. Once you record the new lot lines, you change that. And you need to be in conformance. The board literally has their hands tied. As much as they might agree with you in philosophy, I don't want to speak for them, but as much as they might agree with you, they don't have a choice. Literally, the point of a lot line adjustment is to just confirm that you meet zoning when they change the boundary line. And they're confirming this through a legal opinion that you don't. They don't have a choice.
Yes, it is Article 2, C2E, which doesn't specify a date, but it says, however, so this is regards to the 30K area, the fit for building area. However, a pre-existing non-conforming lot shall be exempt from these provisions, provided it was legal under the provisions in effect immediately prior to the passage of this ordinance or substantial amendments thereto, where approval can be granted without substantial detriment to the public interest, blah, blah, blah. So the problem is, if we approve it, and this now becomes the lot of record date changes for the current pre-existing non-conforming lot, by changing the date, it's no longer protected under the zoning, because it's no longer a lot prior to our zoning.
Right, but it's a timing thing, yes, sir. So, but you've approved it.
It's already,
You're saying you can't approve it because of the act of approving it's gonna make it,
More non-conforming.
No,
how is it more?
It's gonna increase, because it's gonna make it non-conforming to our current ordinance.
So you're saying you need variance relief of some sort? Since you're not gonna let me, I'll ask for the record. But am I gonna be able to get a copy of of your legal opinion so I can see what he's talking about? Assuming no, will you be able to, because I've asked that question many times.
Sure.
Are we gonna be able to come up with a consensus? Sounds like you're saying the board can't approve it. That usually means I need a zoning board relief of sorts. So maybe you're gonna need to give me the citation for what I need to ask the zoning board for, if that's even gonna be feasible. Of course, we're gonna have to get, I've never heard of such a thing, so I'm gonna have to obviously get our own legal opinion, which of course is gonna be different, and down that road too. But to try to come to some, I cannot understand. It almost seems like every lot line adjustment is gonna end up,
no,
they're not.
no.
Only if you're lot line adjusting pre-existing non-conforming
Only-
lots,
but-
and potentially increasing.
How is this a non-conforming lot? How are we creating it?
it doesn't have
You
a
know how
30,000.
it's,
So, but that's existing, so.
Because by changing the
Because I
lot,
don't have the 30,000 on new lot line adjustment.
Correct.
Because you're gonna create a lot of, you're gonna,
Because it's a non-conforming lot. You even acknowledge this coming into this conversation.
It is a non-conforming, still a non-conforming.
Okay, then
Parts of
why
it.
are we?
so when
why
we
are still
record the
talking?
plan and a deed is passed, the lot of record date changes at that point to whatever that date is. So now that date is no longer gonna precede the savings clause that's within the zoning ordinance. So nothing can be built on this because it doesn't meet the 30,000 square feet. So-
So build a house first, then do the lot line adjustment.
Yeah.
Well,
That's about it.
No, you still couldn't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it would be a non-conforming lot. It would be a structure on a non-conforming lot. The lot doesn't change by putting a house on it. You don't have a non-conforming structure, you have a non-conforming lot,
Because of the 30K.
the 30K.
Because we don't have the 30K.
And you have an hourglass shape, you're not meeting the 50-foot
Because
lot.
it
You
is-
you have two zoning
But
violations.
that hourglass is subdivision, so that could be a waiver.
Well, no, that's,
No, it's in the zoning.
that's it's in the zoning.
I didn't realize it was zoning.
Yes.
So within that, so realistically, what you're showing is probably about 20,000 contiguous square feet of,
That's what I had, that's what I had a month ago.
yeah, so this area shouldn't even be shown really, because it's not fit for, it's not contiguous, so it's
Well, I
technically not
looked
fit
at,
for
well,
building.
again,
so-
I guess I didn't see it in zoning. If it's in there, then of course it's a variance. If it's subdivision, it's a waiver. And again, it's practical. Again, if, it doesn't matter now because we're not at that point. The walls have come crashing down. On what you're telling me, that I'm somehow creating a non-conforming lot.
That's,
And we started with a non-conforming lot.
Well, it's not so much that you're creating,
Oh.
because it's already exists.
Right.
What we're saying is that with the lot line adjustment is when you go to, correct me if I'm wrong here, the non-conforming lot you already have is protected under the ordinance because of the age on the lot of record. When you go, if this were approved, when you went to register this, you now no longer have those protections for building because you now have a new date of record on it. Does that make sense to you?
The plans are signed by the board and then recorded, and there's the date.
That part I'm gonna have to verify. I know what you're telling me your lawyer says.
That-
But
that's-
you're not gonna give me any proof of it, so.
What they say, lot of.
Doesn't matter what the lawyer says, it's what the board is now saying, and we're referencing specifically the zoning ordinance, and giving you the exact reference, Article 2, C2E, is what mentions a pre-existing non-conforming lot should be exempt from these provisions, provided it was legal under the provision. But it no longer becomes a pre-existing non-conforming lot that was, predates the zoning, because we're changing the lot. We're changing the lot, we're creating a new lot, basically,
You're reducing the size of an existing lot.
but you're changing the lot of
But you're
record.
changing
date
it,
of it.
changing the whole thing. If you take away part of it, it's no longer what it was.
So the answer would be to sell the whole existing lot now as a 5-acre parcel, rather than it's for 2.5 acres.
yes. Yes. I think the board is acknowledging that the lot is pre-existing, non-conforming, therefore you can get a building permit. But it's the lot line adjustment that's creating the problem.
And it could be, it could be denied for being a non-conforming lot that we can't create. You could withdraw and seek other legal counsel perhaps, or just simply go and build on the lot as it situates.
Well, we're not gonna get anywhere tonight, so I'm going to just end it. I'd like to just ask for a recess for maybe give me a month. And if I need to contact you to cancel, we'll do it. But I think we need to talk to our own people and just see what's going on. I know it probably won't change anything, but it might help us decide what path we're gonna take from here. If it inquires or requires some zoning relief, then this board's gonna need to come up with a section, I believe, of the zoning that you feel like we're not meeting, so that we can address that at the zoning board level if need be, or go from there, so.
I think that's a good, obviously, there's been expenses for this. Some of it would need to be done anyway if it was ever to be built upon to show these setbacks, but I think that's a good plan to then allow time for, like you said, to digest this, come back with some additional information.
So you want to continue, us to
If it goes,
continue?
You know,
Okay.
you can either withdraw later, ask us to move forward, but the continuance, I think, would be, if it's amenable to you, I think that's probably a good course of action tonight.
We're not gonna go in, yeah, so you come up with your mind, yeah, so that's fine, we get a little bit more, we're gonna talk on our legal end, and then we'll, if they agree, then we'll just, that'll be it. But, I still don't understand it, but I'll have to think more about it. I've never heard of such a thing.
Peter, a month out is August 14th with deliverables by July 22nd. Does that work for you?
There won't be any deliverables, but, to my knowledge, unless
Okay.
it's a letter of some sort. So when is the next meeting?
You said a month out?
Yeah, a month.
A month would be August 14th.
Okay.
That's our first meeting, yep.
Is
And
that
if I need to drop off something, you said that would be, what, a week before?
July 22?
July 24.
24.
Oh, it says 22 here, but that's,
Yeah, 10. Okay.
Oh, you're right. That's application deadline, I'm sorry. I was looking at the prior meeting
oh,
date.
that's okay.
Sorry.
Does that work for you?
Those are right days?
Yes.
Yeah, would have to. All righty.
All right, is there a motion
To
continue?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue case 24-008 LLA Witham to August 14th, 2024 at 7 PM with deliverables by July 22nd, 2024.
So it's a motion by Mrs. Bascom, a second by Mr. Severns. Yeah, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries 7-0 to continue to August 14th at 7 PM with deliverables by 7:22. The next item on our agenda, that's it for public hearings. The next item on our agenda is a conceptual case 24007 for Bassett, Lamprey Drive. Mr. Bassett, you want to come on up? Oftentimes, we don't continue conceptuals, but we did on this one, so we could seek some additional input on how best to move forward with this and guide the applicant, because it's kind of a unique situation. So where we were before is, Mr. Bassett, you own a lot on Lamprey Drive, fairly large lot. I've got it here. Right now, it is bisected by a number of what are now town roads. Channel Road, I believe, Lamprey Drive, Indian Run, and Dollop Dam. Does that sound right?
Sir,
Yeah.
Kevin Bassett, 101 Shore Drive.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Bassett. So before I jump in, I'm sorry, did you have anything you wanted to add to us tonight before I go through? All right, there'll be time. So I had sought some guidance because we have in our subdivision regulations, section 14.6, which threw me into a little bit of a quandary, and I wanted to get some interpretation on it before I guided you at all. So under 14.6, apologies, trying to get to the actual section. It's a one paragraph. Lands divided by public right-of-way. Seems to fit for what we're looking at here. Any transfer, conveyance, or sale of land held in one ownership but already divided into lots or parcels of land by an existing public right-of-way shall not be considered a subdivision for the purposes of these regulations and shall not be required to conform to the procedures set forth herein. So my understanding of that is that to convey some of these lots, if you were to try to convey what you had listed as 25E, which is cut off, well, is already subdivided by Dollop Dam, Channel Road, Indian Run, you would be able to convey that through a deed without going through a subdivision process. What you have proposed is 25A and 25B would require subdivision because that is one block that is not already divided by a public right-of-way. So 25C, 25D, 25E, technically, you could convey, my understanding of it is that you can convey any of those without a subdivision.
Understood.
They would still then potentially have to, based on some of what we also just discussed tonight, that would create the lot of record date for them though. So 25C or would have a lot of record date of whatever date you basically passed the deed defining that lot. So it's gonna have to conform for building purposes later on to current zoning. So I don't know if these do, I know they're large lots, you have, greater than 4 acres, greater than 3. So they may already conform, but just to let you know, by conveying doesn't mean they're buildable. that would be determined, you know, when you went to pull, if you ever went to pull a building permit.
Okay, so if I could reverb that back here, 25A and 25B is obviously one large parcel, and to do a subdivision, that is part of a subdivision plan, to subdivide them for my two kids.
So that would be a minor
C, D,
subdivision, yep.
E, and I guess I didn't do F, which is down by the dam.
South of Dolph
It's on
Dam.
the south side of Dolph. I guess I didn't label that. They're sort of all blocked. And by definition, those are already subdivided. And this is what I like to portray to Jim Franklin, surveyor, who would be presenting a subdivision plot to you in some time in the future. Did I get all that right?
That is my kind of understanding of it.
Okay.
So again, I'm assuming all these are portions of road that were adopted as public rights of way by the town. So any of the areas that have been kind of where Indian Run may have moved around a little bit, that you probably want to make sure to clean up or figure out, because I don't know if that's public way or if that was just driveways or what that is down there. Or
That's my
it
pet-
might be off your lot.
That's my pet peeve. You know, if we really want to do this right, I would ask those, or portray those right-of-ways that are on my land, that my neighbors down on, 1110, that little corner there, I would give them right-of-ways. Because the road, Indian Run, stops somewhere. That was one of my 5 questions from last August that I presented to this board, or, excuse me, it might have been I presented that to the boss.
Probably, yeah.
And it says, where does Indian Run stop? And thus, where would an easement start? Do you follow where I'm at?
I do.
Okay, and I have not got an answer to that.
What do you mean you didn't get an answer to it?
I have nothing-
How is anybody supposed to know where the road starts and the road ends if there's no plan for where the road was supposed to be in the beginning?
Well, in my simple mind, this says Indian Run and then it splits. In my simple mind, does it end at the split? Does it end at one of the splits and the rest are, call them driveways, for lack of better words? I wanted the boss to tell me where does it stop? And thus, I would really like to convey easements to these folks.
We
so
can't
that-
tell you where it is if we don't have a surveyed plan that says where it
Well, I gave
is.
you a road survey.
That points out exactly where the pinpoint of the road thing is, right? So you did the 25 feet all the way through, so this is where it is.
Yeah, and
You
it-
plotted everything out on there, and wherever you put the road is where the road's gonna be.
So on the survey,
I'm
so
not tracking.
I haven't followed where this is going with the select board, so I apologize, but my understanding is you engaged a surveyor to work with the select board and it surveyed a road area. Did you do Indian Run as well?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And where did this, do you know where your surveyor ended, like where they're proposing a 25 or 20-something foot right away?
It would be, well, this is part of the question. Let me try to be precise.
Sure.
And I'm gonna talk about Indian Run, and I'm talking about this plan here
Yeah, I don't have that.
on 522 that I gave you, right?
Yeah.
So Indian Run stops somewhere, and then it fingers into one, two, three fingers. So the question is, where do we think Indian Run stops? From a road perspective. And then the other 2 spurs, if that's what it turns out to be, would then be easement things over to my neighbors. So I'm just trying to do
I believe so, yeah, so kind of like.
Where does the,
what's needed to be done now, so that 50 years
Right
from
now,
now, when
have this
my neighbor on
these are all separate lots, yeah.
9/7 and goes to sell, they actually have an easement to get out to the road that's been approved. And I don't have to do this. I don't think I have to do this, But wouldn't it be the right thing to do? You
Yes.
know, from a,
I personally, not speak for anybody else here, think that you're coming to the board and saying, hey, I wanna make this right. I wanna put these roads on the earth so that people know where they are. And the only way to do that is by having a survey and proposing that survey to the town and, making, there's a lot of ways roads are conveyed. Conveying those rights away like you're trying to do, that's a great thing. And what we're saying in the first part here, I think, is that, you do need to subdivide these two, but the other guys, you don't need to subdivide your land. So that's separate from the road question.
oh, yeah.
Separate from the road question, but we don't really know where the roads are, so we won't know what your lots look like. So those lots will be lots of record the day you convey them out to your nephew, son, whoever, and they will not be known buildable, approved building lots. They will not be existing lots of record with certain rights to build on. Like, if you have a lot on the lake and it's a quarter acre, it's an existing lot of record, you could build on it. It's meeting certain requirements, but your lots might not be, just like Mr. Witham's lot here. They're always making it bigger and doing these things. He's creating a non-conforming lot, that doesn't have those rights any longer. So you could come forward to the board and say, hey, we wanna have these all approved and have it all surveyed and plot off the roads, and that would be a fabulous thing, really. That's my opinion. I think that would be great.
I recognize that this is a boss issue,
Yeah.
not a,
So it might come down to the fact like that Indian Run, that my guess is at some point that was probably intended to run the lot line. But when that was put in, however long ago, 50 years, I'm just gonna say,
the driveway.
it probably shifted a bit off the lot line, but it was probably intended to be on the lot line, so it, wasn't bisecting the
The
parcel.
driveways were not put in relative to the old plan, and that's pretty clear
Yeah.
on this.
So that's probably gonna be something that's a bit beyond this board.
Agreed.
So again, if that is plotted out and surveyed and it runs the lot line instead, that's gonna be a lot cleaner than the way it is now. Again, for this board, we can't tell you where it ends, but what I can guide you on is that the other parcels, from interpretation of our subdivision regulations at 14.6 specifically, you can convey them without a subdivision,
Understood.
because they're already bisected by town roads,
But they may not be
buildable,
buildable.
right? That would be
They don't have
determined later.
non-conforming lots of record rights. So,
Correct.
but you could secure that by going through
And they would
the
be.
subdivision
and-
process.
And it's a possibility that they would not be buildable, for what reason, if they're, for instance, 4 acres?
Wetlands,
They
30,000
could be,
foot envelope.
yeah, yeah.
Understood.
all those, whatever
Understood.
You might not have
reasons.
the 30K area,
Understood.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's because there's nothing here,
I'm pretty
it's not
fortunate
engineered,
this-
so,
I'm pretty fortunate this is all upland.
yeah.
And then we might need to
And there's no
also see.
wetlands, and so,
But that also
I'm
would,
feeling pretty confident, but,
Yeah.
but all that has to be on your subdivision.
If
yeah,
there's a small parcel somewhere that's bisected and just kind of left hanging there, what happens to that? We don't, without a whole survey, we don't really see that. And
Yeah.
we don't know where your frontage is on this 4 acre or whatever size lot if we don't know where the road is. So again, it kind of requires a survey, and if you're doing this survey, I think it's, the roads in the town, it's a little messy right now with the, this whole little. So it would be, it would be great to have some roads plotted out for all future times, like you say. And so if you're doing that as part of your subdivision and surveying the whole lot area, and want to bring that to the board, I think we'd be pretty happy to extend a lot of liberties, waivers or whatever for this. But if you want to show those as buildable lots, then you might want to show those buildable areas and the wetland flagging and the other requirements of the subdivision.
yeah, I
to
think
some extent.
that'd be overkill, so.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes with us, unless you decide to split one of these lots, like 25A and B, that would be a minor subdivision, then you'd be before us for that lot. Otherwise, you're not before us. You know, you may be working with the building inspector. If and when you ever convey it and someone decides to try to build, you have to work with the building inspector at that time to conform to whatever zoning ordinance is in effect at that time. There might be an option to potentially come to the board with a plan that's for record only. It's not it would be specified that it's not for subdivision purposes, but it's showing what you're proposing as lots, and it would probably have notation on there that per section 14.6, these are lands divided by a public right of way, and this is, and land will be conveyed only. That would be something you'd probably want to talk to either a surveyor to create that plan, maybe Mr. Haney to see what the registry would allow for that. But that would be, that way you'd have a plan reference. Again, it's not a subdivision plan, so it's not a fully engineered plan. It would be specifically to help you as you're conveying lots, if you were to convey the lots that are already meet 14.6.
Are you going to survey all these lots, your whole parcel? Is that?
Well,
Is
I've
that-
already, I mean, I already have
Yeah.
a registered plan that is registered. It's what I call a road survey.
Okay.
So all of this is already surveyed
Okay.
and registered. And now, all I really want to do is cut this big parcel in half. And from the information is that, you know, I don't have to deal with any of these little pieces that have roads already around.
When you go to convey,
So I'm good.
if you go to convey those, setting the meets and bounds so you can put in the deed, that's, you know, that's something is probably normal practice, but that's not us.
And then, I mean, I already know that these 4-acre and 3-acre lots are upland, there is no wetlands on them, and there's no brooks or rivers or things to deal with from that perspective, so I'm feeling pretty good. The answer you've given me is the answer I desired, and now I can portray that answer to the surveyor so that he surveys and apply and prepares a subdivision lot for A and B appropriately, so we can go forward and get out of this.
May I ask?
And again, that's a minor subdivision, so there's less things to jump through for minor subdivisions.
Has the town accepted this map, these roads as town roads?
Well, that is a request to the.
That has not occurred yet.
Selectmen.
The roads are accepted as town
Well,
roads. Where they are and how that is defined, I believe, is
Yeah.
being worked on with the select board and the applicant.
John, do you have something to add?
So if
Sure.
I may,
Please
If
do.
I may.
I want to hear what's.
you want me to go first?
Sure, if you want to.
So what I.
I don't want to contradict you, but I might.
I have petitioned the boss to accept these roads as town roads.
That's
Okay,
not true.
that means, you know, I have to, you know, get all the abutters and, you know, all, you know, 80 of them to do that. What I've asked Ellen to investigate is, can I do that at the same time as when I do the subdivision request, so that I don't have to pay all 80 folks. And so that was just a question that she was exploring. So, I'd like to do it both at the same time, get the roads approved with the public, and then the subdivision at the same time. So that was my request to Ellen 2 weeks ago. John, you have the floor.
Kevin came in front of the BOS. The thing was, the BOS did not know where the roads were of record because there was no plan ever about where the road's supposed to be, saying the road is this wide here and it goes through this and there's nothing. It was whoever built all those lots out there, just made his own path through the woods and said, this is where the road is. Stop. Nothing was on plan, except it said kind of maybe drew through the woods, but it didn't say from lot line here to here, the road is 2,000 feet, and from this line here to here, the road is nothing. The applicant said, well, what is it? So we came for the bare minimum is from the approval the town gave for a vote, which said that all these emergency lanes were now becoming town roads.
As is.
Very, very vague, as is. So Mr. Bassett asked us, what's the minimum for the road? And was in front of our survey, Kevin, I'm not trying to be mean here, but where the road goes. We said, you need to, wherever the road goes, make sure the road's 25 feet and plot it out so that we know where the road is and put it on a map. Stop. That's all we did. We didn't go any further, we didn't do any more, we didn't say they're approved, because they technically were already approved by the voters of Nottingham to make these a road.
Right.
BOS, all he gave Kevin was 25 feet.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And that's where you can say, when you put your 25-foot road here, that's gonna tell you whatever's over here, what's ever over here, what's ever over here, and that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
We did not define where the road was. We did not define, slopes, we just said, make it so that wherever your survey tells you, the road's 25, and make it so that, even if it was 10 or 15 here, we'll make it 25, so the whole road's consistently 25.
Yep. It's a conundrum of the simplicity of warrant Article 19, that it was very simply written, which made it was great, but the downside of it was it absolutely set zero meets and bounds,
Vague.
so therefore.
Really vague, yeah.
And we weren't gonna
It solved the
tell-
problem and created other problems for when people actually want to do things like this. The last thing I want to mention, Mr. Bassett, conceptuals are non-binding, so technically, we can't make a motion to say this is what we feel
Don't want you to.
and bind ourselves to it. It's a non-binding discussion. Things could change in a year, whatever, but the way it's written currently is my feeling is that what we gave you tonight was correct.
I'm good.
And if you wanna come in for the BOS about that other subject, we can have a discussion on that too.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you want, if you want to come in front of the BOS about Indian Run, please do. We'll tell you exact, I'll tell you now, or I'll tell you at the board meeting, however you want to do, if you want to answer about that.
Where does it end? Is that the question?
Yeah, we have no idea. You survey it, you tell us.
Right, so I can tell you where it is.
And then whatever it
I just wanna know
however it
where-
affects
just
your-
wanna know where it ends.
However it affects those other people.
Why doesn't it end
I
at a
I
property
believe
line?
that's a that's a private thing.
Right, I mean,
There.
yeah, it's not, I mean-
I wanna convey, that's all.
You could make the road however long it, and say it goes to where it goes now, and just keep it all the 25 the way it is. And if their driveway supposedly lot line, because again, I've been around a lot and I've seen a lot of this, and there's all the roads like this. The guy, when he made all these lots, just a little history lesson here, he was just cutting out 75 by 100 little pieces on there. And if his road was 15 foot off there, it didn't matter. He just let you cross over the land to get to your lot, but the road was still here.
Yeah.
Even though there wasn't really a road, because there wasn't there, the traveled path was here. But the people who bought the lot on the water knew that they had to travel over that 15 feet of dead land to get to their property. It was just, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
So this is where you asked me where a road is. Now, if Kevin wants to subdivide this and say this, and put the road here in that dead piece of land, he's gonna have to figure out with those abutters, what happens with that dead? Are you gonna give him it? Are you going to,
Convey it to.
whatever? That's not the BOS's decision, that's
It would
yours.
solve a lot of problems 50 years ago, that's all. That's what I'm thinking, so.
It would.
Sure, oh, it may be great. Might even make some people's lots a little bit bigger.
Well, it's just the easement over the property.
You wanna start writing, if you wanna start writing easements out left and right for that, you go right ahead.
I know.
That's-
I'm just trying to
Hey,
be-
thank you
just trying
for
to be a nice
coming.
guy.
Yeah,
But-
thank you,
And
thank you,
then-
Mr. Yeah, so I think.
You had a question, sorry?
Oh, I just asked, why doesn't it stop at the property lines? Is there a reason why the Indian Run doesn't stop at the property line?
There's just 3 spurs off of Indian Run, so which one?
Yeah.
And the old road is shown, right up next to the properties of 11, 10, 9, and 8. That's the old plan. But the road never was built there.
But I guess, isn't that dotted line that's coming off of a lot of the property lines, that actually has some right angles and stuff, isn't that like what people are using to get to their
No,
lots?
That's on the plan. They're using the other dotted lines coming off of Indian Run, which is on my land.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So this is the plan from 1964 or whatever. That's the plan. That's the driveways.
Yeah, yeah.
And I says, how do you fix it? This is not a planning board problem. It's a Bush Road.
No, it ain't.
I know, but now, which one of these, where do we start from? Does Indian stop here, 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 you know?
Well, this is a property line, right? The dark thick line?
The thick line is property line.
Yes, you
yes,
can't,
yes.
you
So you can't go beyond that.
Yeah.
But where does it stop? And that's what.
Mr. Chairman, may I request that this discussion happen another time?
Yeah.
And Chris,
So thank you,
Let's see
Mr.
where the three roads go.
Thank you, Mr. Bassett, for,
This is the original,
hopefully we gave you some guidance.
this is where the existing driveway.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna consider the conceptual on this one closed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So conceptual for 24007 is closed now, based on our conversation, so
good luck.
good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again, Kevin.
So this time of night where
I'm breaking new down. I will take whatever luck I can get, and I appreciate the board's time.
the time of night where we open the meeting for public comment, just to bring general questions to the board, maybe about procedures, things like that, not case-specific or application-specific items. There's nobody here tonight, but we always reserve time of night for that. We do have one set of minutes. We can either look at those tonight or move them. I've looked through them. I only had one correction. It was just to clean up line 79. Just strike that because it's actually line 85.
In addition to that one, I also had line 8, the name Tim Phoenix is spelled wrong again. You copy and paste it, it's okay.
Sorry, I didn't correct the old ones yet, so that's why I didn't realize.
But aside, yeah, my only other one was the one that Mr. Field has already mentioned.
Reading this, I have not reached out to Lamprey River Advisory Committee or written the 2 letters for the town of Raymond for the DRIs, but I will do that. I'll do that soon, by the end of the week. I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion regarding the minutes of June 26th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, June 26, 2024. As amended.
I'll second that.
So that's a motion by Mr. Severns, second by Mr. Stevens. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So we have 6-0-1.
I wasn't here.
It's fine.
I wasn't here either. but
All
I
right.
better.
Select board, staff board member updates. I'm going to go around the room. Mr. Davies.
All set.
Let's see, Mr. Severns?
All set. And I'm not asking for a nickel back.
All right, that's our last chance. Mr. Evans?
All set, right?
Almost all said. I think sometime the Board of Selectmen will tell us what a little bit, maybe we need to share a little bit on this road thing, because it's gonna keep coming up in the future. It's messy.
Yeah, we had met with the town council, we had met with town council on these years ago. And basically, that was kind of one of the takeaways is it's gonna be determined every single individual case as they come before us. Unfortunately, it's gonna, because the way the warrant articles were written, there's no meets and bounds.
Right.
Nothing surveyed. So, as is, whereas, could potentially, it means where the road is now and where it potentially showed up on any plans. So, it could be 2 things. So,
How does the town determine where the snowplow or the grading stops or doesn't stop? Is there?
sure, they just go down to
go down the
the
road.
current path and to wherever they can get to a turnaround.
Yeah, and if we didn't plow you before, we ain't plowing you now.
Yeah.
But is there a record of where things are plowed or not plowed or?
Oh, yeah. If you look at any of the new signs, there's a big red sticker over the little Nottingham guy. The town is not going down that road.
Red sticker.
Look on this, go be observant and look on the new signs that say for all the new lanes and roads around the lake. If there's a big red dot over the little Nottingham, Minuteman, then,
Basically means it's a class 6 road.
yeah, it means that town is not, we're not plowing it, we're not grading it, we're not sanding it, we're not.
I live on a road and I don't,
Well, look at the sign, see if
I-
it's
well-
a nice sign that says the little Nottingham dude guy on it, then you're good. If it has a red dot on it, you'll obviously know from last winter, we're not plowing it, sanding it, or grading it.
so like, just not.
We could talk about this after if you really want to know. I don't think things.
All right, no, just curious. All right, so I
Yeah.
just thought that would
I'll
be
be happy to
helpful.
talk about it.
Every time it
For
comes
future.
before us, it's gonna be messy
That's the answer.
unless there's been surveys and stuff done with the select board.
But now we know there's a red dot.
Well, the red dot means the town does not maintain the road.
I didn't know that until now.
There's other ones around town too. It's not just on around the lake, but
Right.
you go North River, like the same thing, the things there. It was a way to clarify for people to say, well, what is this road or not? Just, go to the sign and see the red dot on it.
Well, it makes
That
it
covers
easy
things,
when
and
they
then
come
we know.
before us. Hey, does your road have a red dot or not?
Well, yeah, if you wanna go that simple on it, but it's more made so the plow guys go down the road, they know not to go down that road.
All right, we want
That's why
to move
it's
forward. Mr. Moran, do you have anything for this?
Obviously, the town beach reopened, which is great. We need cleanup. We should have a cleanup day. You know, there's a lot of grass out there and stuff like this, but the porta potty should be coming, which is good. So we'll get, the swim lines are supposedly somewhere, on their way here, but no one knows exactly where they are, so, but they're ordered. So when they get here, we'll get them out installed for the area. The hours for the recycling center are staying, we had a public meeting on that, it's about changing them. And the, yep, exactly. They are as listed, for the summer hours are staying the same for 11 to 7 on Thursday, Friday 9 to 5, and Saturday 9 to 5. For everybody, you know, we do ask that you show up 15 minutes before closing so that the guys there don't have to stay an extra half hour after 5 o'clock. For people that show up right at 4:59 and then continue to be, that's a respect for the people that work there. On Saturday, they'd like to go home at 5, so please show up at 4:45 and not at 4:59. That would be greatly respected for the people that work there, and they'd really appreciate it.
And it also helps
So,
to keep the taxes
that's my
up
little
where they're at,
public notice.
so you're not paying extra hours.
In case anybody was curious about that one. And then we have a meeting coming up on Monday, but that was the big things that went on. Rec department's in full swing for summer programs, which is good. There was also things too about the coming up of, if we didn't talk about this before, Marston's, where we're gonna be actually trying to get in 9 of disc golf, and then potentially get another 9 holes of disc golf. So, for people to recreate, you know, over there. So besides just being in the fields for soccer and football, softball and stuff like this, but so other people can use it, that even, you know, if you don't, so to try to really make it a nice big recreational area for the whole town, so everybody has a use for it, and not just be limited for the sports.
Dover's has a huge utilization.
So, everything else is that, pretty good. Our new police F-150 truck is supposed to be coming in. It was, last I heard, it was in New York getting something done, and then here, so it could have showed up today, for all I know, I don't know, but it should be here soon, and so you'll all notice that driving around town.
I don't know if our amended fee schedule has made it to the select board yet. Did that make it on agenda yet?
That should be coming up.
Yeah, okay.
Monday?
I'll have to check my minutes.
Can it be Monday?
Just so that we can get it on there.
So we
and
can get
start
it going?
capturing
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
All set.
All right. One thing I can't remember if we have addressed yet is appointing someone to the CIP committee. I think sometimes we kick that down the road until closer to CIP time, but if anybody would like to serve as the planning board's member for the CIP, speak up, let me know, let the board know, and we can.
Sooner than later too, because they really wanna start that early.
Is it
So that could be
starting
starting like in 2 months or less.
Yeah.
So somebody should
I'm in
be,
denial about where we are in the year, so.
right, yes, it's, July is
I
already
would say the heat
flying
out there
by,
could
so-
tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd like to
July.
see that done earlier, so, because last year it was done very last minute and late, so they're gonna try to make sure that we have more adequate time.
Yeah, so if anybody would like to serve as that rep, you know, or has budget experience, you know, again, please let us know, and we can appoint you as our CRP rep.
No, I don't have that.
You don't
don't
need
have
it,
to.
I'm just saying, you know, anybody that would like to join
You're
that.
predicting what we're gonna buy in the future. Maybe.
He looked, it came up.
TV. I think that's it, I know I had something else now, that's going on in my mind, so, Mr. Stevens.
Good.
Mr. Cummings?
I have nothing to add.
I will add that, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. I think it's not tomorrow, but next Thursday, is the next webinar in the monthly series for housing and zoning that the Office of Planning does from the state. They do a monthly, lunch webinar from 12 to 1 on a Thursday. They've been doing, since the beginning of this year, they've been doing it on housing and zoning. And the one next week is on zoning. So it might be of something of interest, especially since we're gonna be meeting in August to talk about some of our zoning stuff.
Is that by SRPC or by?
No, it's by the state. It's run by the state. And this specific one is about zoning. There's also a couple of webinars coming up. I don't have the dates. Maybe the internet's back. The Housing Opportunity Planning Grants, the HOP grants, are having a final round, third round, that are due in September. They're gonna have 2 webinars on the grants, the grant program, what it allows. SRPC has been working with other communities on doing this. It's a great opportunity to look at your zoning, great opportunity to get a master plan chapter or 2 done. They are prioritizing communities that have done previous grants through them, but in talking, I had a chance to talk to the guy at the annual meeting. He seems to think that there's gonna be money left over, that new communities such as yourself, if you were interested, could get some of the money to do something like a housing chapter or a land use chapter.
Was that Noah?
Yeah.
Noah also mentioned that just because the town uses this HOP grant, that it does not obligate the town to do what is recommended, or it doesn't create strings to the town to meet certain regulations of the state. That he seemed to point out that was something that smaller towns had some adversity to, like, hey, we don't wanna, get the state money in and then get roped into whatever they wanna tell us to do. It's not, he said there's no strings attached to it.
No, there's no obligation. You are limited to what you can use it for. You can't do a transportation chapter for your master plan. You can't do the whole master plan. You can only do land use or housing, or land use and housing. I'm pretty sure land use, because we're working on one right now. It's a HOP grant, and I'm doing the land use chapter. Someone else is doing the housing one. So that's coming up. You'll have to just go on their website, just search for HOP grants, and you'll find the 2 webinars. There's one in this month and one next month. So,
How'd the luncheon go?
sorry.
How'd the luncheon go?
It went great. We had a good turnout. We had 30+ people. We had a good, a good couple speakers. Basically, 10 years ago, SRPC did like a sort of a 10-year plan for the 18 communities that we oversee. And so it was like kind of like a retrospective. Let's look back and see what we talked about doing, what did we accomplish, what did we think, and we had 3 speakers towards that end. So it was a good
One of the
conversation.
speakers, I went, and one of the speakers talked about environmental perspectives, and they're on a lake and doing things that contribute to the water supply downstream, which was really informative. Then they had someone that was talking about creating zoning and housing, and over the little house concept and the consolidated neighborhoods and stuff like that, and that was very interesting. I don't remember the third person covered.
Yeah, it was the woman from
Different
Summers.
perspectives, so it really covered a wide gamut.
Yeah.
John, I had 2 other questions I forgot to ask. Do you know any idea, and I can ask the town administrator on this one, if the new SRPC contract was signed because we're on a...
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll check it with Ellen, just to confirm, because if it is, if that is, and then our new fee schedule passes, we can start proposing some things with SRPC potentially, if our budget allows. The only other thing I was gonna mention about the recycling center is years ago on the recycling subcommittee from the select board, I think one of the helpful things was if information could be shown or transparency to the town as to, okay, here's the costs to treat things as trash, and here's, what's offset. Sometimes there's still a cost to treat it as recycling. It's not always a revenue earning, but it's generally cheaper than tipping it as waste per ton, so. So I
You
think,
asking, like, what do we get for like tin cans and what do we get for?
no, I just don't know if there's ever like something that could be put online again as to like, here's our cost, here's the tonnage cost that we're paying to treat it as waste, and here's, what we're getting either, it's costing us as recycling or what we're earning off recycling to offset that. Because again, I know a lot of those items like paper or something might not be revenue adding, but it might be $50 per ton to treat it, to get rid of it, as opposed to $120 per ton.
Used to be in the town report.
Okay, some of the stuff is.
And maybe it still is, okay. All right,
I don't think it was this year.
take a look.
We're not making money by any means.
No,
No.
I don't think anybody is, any town is. with
Every
their-
year it
but-
keeps going up. Last
but-
year we were at a $360,000 debt for using having the recycling center, so this year, with tipping costs going up and everything like this, expect that expenditure to go up, most likely.
Sure.
We'll have that when we come up with our
Yeah.
budget.
So what is the town doing to increase revenues?
You can't
We can
always.
talk about that at a different time, 'cause we're not gonna go there tonight.
No. Alana, did you have anything? for
I,
us?
can I, one last thing, if you go to the town website homepage, you'll see on there that the hazard mitigation plan for your community has been completed. It's now out there for review. So if you are interested, you want to take a look at it, and if you have comments, send them to me, or send them to Ellen, and she'll get them to me. But you guys all know my address, so, it is done, it's out there, comment, and then we'll start getting it off to FEMA, and then eventually come to John and Company for adoption, but.
What did you say that plan was?
Is the hazard mitigation plan?
Hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, yeah, sorry, so, it's called the multi-hazard mitigation plan. It looks at all of your natural and man-made disasters, and what ones could potentially impact your community. Because of the 25 that are out there, maybe only 10 or 15 might actually hit this community. And then of those that do, where are your vulnerable structures, where are your vulnerable groups of people, buildings, things like that. And then the final piece is, what can we do to mitigate that?
And that's online where?
The town website.
The town website.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, it's on the front page, but who knows by tomorrow, something may bump it off.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for putting that out, I appreciate it. Alana, do we have anything for us? No. So our next case, obviously, our next agenda, July 24th. Do we have any cases before us this time? I don't think we continued anything that,
Yes,
Oh, we-
yes.
maybe we do have one thing that night.
This isn't working, I'm sorry, my computer's not working.
That's okay.
I think there's one continued.
Yeah, I can't remember at the top of my head, but
Isn't it the business park?
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
All
Doug,
right,
you're
and I
on.
think they renoticed that, as far as I know, they were gonna renotice that too, I believe.
Yes, that's all done.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. Anything else from the board? If not, motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Seconds, so move, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.